There are two kinds of people in this world: the ones who are shaped by what they see, and the ones who shape what they see. You've been told to be realistic, to play it safe, to measure your goals against your circumstances. But here's the unfiltered truth. The most dangerous prison is not built of steel or stone. It's built in your mind. And most people, they live behind bars they built themselves. You become what you see, not just in the mirror, but in your mind's eye. If you see failure, you move like a failure. If you see poverty, you walk like you're broke. If you see rejection, you speak like you don't deserve to be heard. But if you see power, if you see purpose, if you see legacy, then your every step starts to reflect it. Not because it's here yet, but because you believe it's coming. Look around at your life. Look close. Everything in it was once just a thought, a pattern, a belief that kept showing up until it became real. That's how the law works. The law that governs kings, creators, and conquerors. The law Napoleon Hill taught us over a century ago, and still, most people never wake up to it. They wait for life to change. But life waits for them to change their vision. No empire is built by chance. No masterpiece is painted by accident. And no man becomes great by default. You must first see it, before anyone else does. And you must hold that vision like a burning sword in the dark, even when the world tries to snatch it from your grip. Henry Ford saw a nation on wheels when the world was still riding horses. Wright brothers saw mankind in the sky when science said gravity owned us. Harriet Tubman saw freedom so clearly. She risked her life again and again to lead others into that vision. They didn't wait for the evidence. They became the evidence. Because what you see, you begin to expect. And what you expect, you begin to attract. And what you attract, you start to create. With your words, your thoughts, your choices, your fire. So the question is simple. What are you looking at every day? What story are you feeding yourself behind your eyes? Is it power? Or pity? Is it growth? Or guilt? Is it a future you're building or a past you keep reliving? The average man opens his eyes and sees limits. The uncommon man closes his eyes and sees everything. He builds cathedrals in his imagination. He designs empires in silence. He walks through the world like he already owns the blueprint, because in his mind he does. This isn't fantasy. This is how every revolution is born. In the space where sight becomes vision, and vision becomes command. You do not get to rise without clarity. You do not get to lead without vision. And you do not get to rewrite your story until you change the mental movie playing in your mind. That's where the transformation begins. With what you see, when no one else is watching. The reason most people stay stuck is not because they lack talent. It's not because the world is unfair, though sometimes it is. It's not even because they're afraid of failure. It's because they've never trained themselves to see past what is. They are imprisoned by the present, chained to their circumstances, blind to the possibility that they could create a life so different, so powerful, it would feel like stepping into a different universe. But let me tell you this, with fire and without apology. Every great transformation begins with a decision to see something more. Not someday, not when it's easy, but right now, when the bills are unpaid, when your friends don't believe in you, when your own mind laughs at the idea of something greater. That's when the real vision is tested. That's when most fold. That's when the average man lays his dream on the altar of doubt and walks away. But you've come too far for that. You were not designed to live blind. You were born to be a visionary, not just a dreamer, but a builder of destiny. Vision is a seed, but what you water it with, that's where men are made. Do you water your vision with doubt, hesitation, distraction, fear? Or do you drench it in belief, in action, in relentless mental clarity? You cannot become what you constantly contradict. You cannot attract greatness while telling yourself you're unworthy. You cannot rise while feeding your focus to every shallow voice around you. You must protect the vision, like it's your child, like it's your breath, like it's your last shot, because in truth, it is. Vision is not passive. It's not soft. It's not a pretty picture taped on a vision board with hope and glue. It's war, a daily war, against the pull of the old self, against the voices of limitation, against the inertia of comfort. Every time you open your eyes, the world will tempt you to see only what is, the problems, the lack, the delay, the silence. But a king doesn't build by what's in front of him. He builds by what's inside him. You want to change your life? Then change what you stare at when the world gets quiet. Close your eyes and see the business built. See the body transformed. See the relationships deepened, the wealth created, the stages walked, the books written, the legacy crafted. See it in 4K. See it with tears in your eyes. And then refuse to live another day that contradicts that vision. Because here's the thing the world won't tell you. If you do not build the future you want, you will be forced to live in one built for you. One designed by people with smaller dreams, lower standards, duller vision. But not you, not anymore. You are here for a reason, not by chance, not by accident. And that reason is buried inside the vision you refuse to let go of. You want freedom? Then see yourself as free. You want abundance? Then see it not out there, but in here. You want respect, success, purpose? Then you better start walking, talking, working, and breathing like the man who already holds it. Because the vision you hold is the life you build. The mind doesn't care if your vision is real yet. It doesn't care if your bank account is low, if your body is weak, if the people around you can't see what you see. It will believe whatever you feed it consistently. So feed it with power. Feed it with precision. Feed it with images of the man you are building, not the one you're leaving behind. Because make no mistake, the man you are today must die so the man you're meant to become can breathe. That's what vision demands. Sacrifice, clarity, and brutal honesty. You cannot walk into your future carrying the lies you told yourself to survive your past. You cannot step into abundance dragging the mindset of lack. You cannot expect your life to look different if your inner world still worships limitation. This isn't about fake positivity. This is about conscious construction. You were born with the power to design your internal architecture, your thoughts, your self-talk, your habits, your direction. But most people never touch the blueprint. They inherit beliefs. They absorb fear. They let life build for them. And then they wonder why it feels like a prison. The truth is hard, but it's liberating. If you want to build something no one's seen before, you must first see it when no one else does. Walt Disney walked into an empty swamp and pointed. Right there, he said, will be the happiest place on earth. People laughed, said it was madness. A swamp? A dream? But he saw it. Not vaguely, clearly. He walked through it in his mind before it existed in the world. And now millions walk through that dream every year. Because one man refused to let what was define what could be. So what are you walking through in your mind? Chaos or clarity? Fear or fire? Are you building or are you drifting? Vision doesn't beg for acceptance. It doesn't ask for approval. It commands attention, first from you, then from a world. And until you learn to trust that vision like it's oxygen, you will always find yourself returning to average. See average as a default. It's what happens when vision fades. When you stop seeing beyond the noise. When you stop commanding your mind and start reacting to life like a leaf in the wind. But you were never a leaf. You were meant to be the wind, the force that bends reality, the presence that alters the atmosphere, the man who walks into a room, and without saying a word, everyone knows he sees something they can't. That kind of energy doesn't come from talent. It comes from clarity, from burning a mental image into your soul so deeply, so completely, that it becomes a compass for everything you do. You don't take just any job because it doesn't match the vision. You don't entertain weak habits because they don't feed the vision. You don't surround yourself with noise because it disrupts the signal. You live as a man possessed by purpose. And purpose is born from vision, not the other way around. You don't wait to find your purpose in the world. You create it by staring so long and so hard into the life you were born to live that everything else starts to burn away. Distraction dies. Doubt withers. And all that remains is direction. You can't fake alignment. You either wake up every day walking toward the vision, or you wake up walking in circles. Pretending busy is the same as becoming. But becoming requires a cost, a stripping down, a cleansing of distraction, of lesser identities, of all the parts of you that were never yours to begin with. Vision does not compromise. It does not share space with excuses. It demands you choose. Every moment, choose. Choose the future or the familiar. Choose the man you're building or the mask you've been wearing. Choose the image you were born to manifest, or keep serving the one the world handed you. Because the longer you stare at a limited version of yourself, the deeper those roots grow. And eventually, you don't even need to be told you're stuck. You start to believe you belong there. But understand this. Your life bends to the images you hold most often. You can't obsess over fear and expect confidence. You can't visualize failure and expect victory. You can't constantly replay betrayal and expect trust, love, abundance, connection. Your internal movie becomes your external life. So, what are you playing? What story do you watch at 2 a.m. when your mind goes quiet? What vision is looping beneath your words, your goals, your prayers? Because you can't outperform your dominant mental picture. No strategy can override the broken self-image. No goal will survive if it doesn't align with your core vision of self. This is why most people fail. Not because the dream was wrong, but because the inner camera was pointed at a lie. The man who sees himself as unworthy will sabotage every opportunity that whispers otherwise. The man who sees himself as weak will fold under pressure, no matter how much talent he has. The man who sees himself as invisible will always remain in the background, even when the spotlight is on him. But the man who sees himself as unstoppable eventually becomes so, not because the road was easy, but because he refused to walk any path that contradicted the vision he saw. That's the fire. That's the shift. That's when the world begins to bend in your direction. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's not positive thinking in the shallow, modern sense. It's identity, rewritten at the vision level, where your mind no longer argues for your limitations, where your thoughts no longer echo your old patterns, where your very presence starts to vibrate with the frequency of what you've seen so clearly, so relentlessly it becomes reality. Vision first, manifestation second, always. And while others wait for proof, you become the proof. You weren't born to beg reality to give you what you want. You were born to command it by what you consistently focus on. The world does not respond to wishful thinking. It responds to men who live inside their vision so fully that the world has no choice but to make room. Look back at every titan who left a mark. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't hope for a better future. He saw it. He stood on the steps of history and declared a vision that the world hadn't caught up to yet. He said, "I have a dream," not "I have a complaint," not "I have a suggestion." He had a vision so deep it became destiny. That's what real leadership is. Seeing further, seeing clearer, seeing when others are blind, and holding that sight with such fire that it awakens the blind around you. But you don't have to lead millions to live this way. You just have to lead yourself. Lead your mornings. Lead your habits. Lead your internal dialogue like your life depends on it. Because it does. Because the man who cannot lead his thoughts will be enslaved by them. And an enslaved mind cannot build freedom, no matter how many books he reads, goals he sets, or dreams he posts online. Freedom isn't found in the world. It's formed in your vision. And it starts with looking yourself in the mirror and saying, "No more. No more playing down my greatness to make others comfortable. No more carrying the beliefs of broken people. No more feeding the identity of the old me, the one who waited, hesitated, coasted, blamed, apologized for wanting more. I am done seeing small, because I am done living small." That's the line. That's the burn. That's the moment the old you begins to crack under the weight of your clarity. Because clarity is a weapon. And vision, real, focused, soul-level vision, is spiritual armor. You don't get thrown off by rejection anymore. You don't crumble when they don't clap. You don't shrink when your progress feels slow. Because your sight is fixed, your eyes are set, and your focus is no longer up for sale. Understand this. There is no neutral ground. Every day, you're either reinforcing your old reality or creating your new one. You are either staring into the same mirror of mediocrity Or you are building a new reflection, one thought, one choice, one relentless image at a time. And it's not about speed. It's not about how fast you move. It's about how clearly you see. Because the clearer the vision, the less room for doubt. The clearer the vision, the faster the decisions. The clearer the vision, the stronger the action, and the quieter the noise around you becomes. Noise cannot survive in a mind consumed by vision. It just can't. That's why most people are loud, reactive, fragile, because they lack clarity, and a man without clarity will chase everything and become nothing. But you're done chasing. You're done reacting. You're done pretending the old way works. From here on out, you see yourself rising, so you rise. You see yourself building, so you build. You see yourself walking into rooms with certainty, strength, and presence. And suddenly, the world meets you with the same energy, because the world mirrors your inner movie, not your outer effort. People think success is just hard work, but hard work without direction is like sprinting in circles. You'll sweat, you'll burn calories, but you won't go anywhere. Real movement, world-changing movement, comes from vision-aligned effort, from knowing exactly who you are, what you're creating, and refusing to tolerate anything that contradicts it. Every decision, every step, every hour must become a servant of your vision, not the vision of your family, not your culture, not your past. Yours. That's the only way you build something that lasts. Because what's built from clarity becomes unshakable. It survives storms. It outlasts criticism. It silences chaos. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need everyone's approval. You just need the discipline to keep the vision in front of your mind every single day. That's where most fall. They let life blur the image. They let bills and timelines and opinions and fatigue pull the lens out of focus. And when the image fades, their energy fades. Their purpose fades. Their future fades. But listen to me now and hear in your bones. Vision is your responsibility. No one else will hold it for you. No one else will fight for it the way you must. And the longer you wait for the world to validate your vision, the longer you postpone becoming a man who was born to live it. So hold it, guard it, feed it like it's the last fire keeping you alive, because in a way it is. The fire of vision is the only thing that burns through resistance, rejection, and routine. It gets you up before the sun. It keeps you building when results are silent. It trains your tongue to speak power even when doubt screams louder. Because when you see it clearly enough, you don't need external proof. You become the proof. Look at Edison. Over 1,000 failed attempts to invent the light bulb, but he saw it. He knew what he was building long before the world believed it could work. And he was right, because vision, coupled with persistence, always wins. Look at Oprah, told she was unfit for television. Abused, dismissed, doubted, but she saw herself as more, and the world eventually caught up to her vision. That's what you're doing now. You're not waiting for circumstances. You're commanding your mind to build what no one else will. And the more real it becomes inside you, the faster the world begins to move in alignment with it. Your focus becomes sharper. Your standards rise. You stop settling for relationships, conversations, jobs, habits that dilute your future. Why? Because the man you see in your mind, he wouldn't tolerate that. So neither do you. You become protective of your energy, selective with your time, deliberate with your action, because the vision has taken root. And once the roots are deep, the storm doesn't matter. Most men break because their roots were shallow. They built their identity on applause, validation, speed, but never on vision. So the moment pressure hits, they collapse. They shrink. They run. But the man who sees clearly, the man who walks every day with a blueprint etched into his soul, he may bend, but he never breaks. Because clarity breeds resilience. Not the fake kind, not arrogance, not bravado. Real resilience. The kind you can taste in a man's voice. The kind you can feel when he walks into a room and needs no introduction, because he is already introduced by his energy, by his alignment, by his vision made flesh. See, vision doesn't just inspire you. It builds you. It gives birth to discipline. It kills off excuses. It rewires your brain to filter out anything that doesn't look like the life you're creating. Without vision, you'll entertain every distraction. You'll chase every new idea, every opportunity, every validation hit. But with vision, you become dangerous, laser-locked, unbothered, unshakable. You don't need 10 steps. You need one clear sight line, and the guts to chase it like your life is on the line. Because it is. Your true life, the one buried beneath expectation, fear, comparison, and delay, is fighting for breath, and it will never see the light of day if you don't start seeing it yourself. Don't tell me you're stuck if your vision is still fuzzy. Don't tell me you're tired if your image of the future is still vague. Vagueness is the enemy of power. You cannot hit a target you cannot see. You cannot rise into a self you haven't designed. You cannot conquer a life you haven't already walked through in your imagination 1,000 times over. Every empire begins in the unseen, before it's brick and stone, before it's profit and prestige, before it's applause and cameras. It's silence. It's vision. It's one man sitting alone with fire behind his eyes and war in his heart, declaring, "I will build this, even if no one else sees it until it's done." And that is where you must live. In the internal furnace, in the discipline of daily sight. You don't need motivation. You need maintenance of the image every morning, before the world's noise rushes in, before the opinions, the chaos, the algorithms try to dictate your value. You look inward, you realign, you see it again, the life, the body, the business, the relationships, the legacy, and then you ask, does today's version of me honor that vision? Because if the answer is no, you don't need guilt. You need adjustment. You course correct. You sharpen. You make the invisible visible again. That's the ritual. That's the way. That's the game the great ones have been playing for centuries, not with luck, but with sight. The Roman generals envisioned victory before the first sword was drawn. Lincoln saw a united nation before blood stained the fields. Nelson Mandela saw reconciliation while staring through prison bars, not because they were naive, but because their vision anchored them. So what's anchoring you? What are you building so clearly inside that you can no longer tolerate anything outside that doesn't match it? Because that moment when tolerance dies, that's when transformation begins. Transformation doesn't happen when you're tired of the world. It happens when you're tired of yourself. Tired of your own lies, tired of your own mediocrity, tired of dimming your light to fit into lives you've already outgrown. You don't become powerful by escaping reality. You become powerful by redefining it. And that begins the moment you take full command of your vision. Because everything you hate about your life, every cycle, every loop, every rut, it survives because you keep seeing it as permanent. But there is no permanence except what you allow. The moment you decide, this is not me, the shift begins. You stop seeing your bank account as a verdict and start seeing it as a project. You stop seeing your past as a prophecy and start seeing it as raw material. You stop seeing rejection as proof and start seeing it as redirection. But you got to decide, will you live from your imagination or your memory? Your memory will trap you. It will show you every failure in full color. It will whisper, that's who you are, that's what you're made of, but your imagination, that's the divine screen where your real life is waiting. Your future is not a location, it's a frequency, and the only way to reach it is to see it and stay on it. It's why Hill wrote so forcefully about definiteness of purpose, because without it, your power leaks, your energy bleeds into indecision, your time evaporates into half commitments, and your fire dies out in the fog confusion. But when your vision becomes definite, when it becomes precise, personal, and painful to ignore, you stop playing with your life. You stop asking small questions. You stop waiting for permission. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You get up earlier. You speak differently. You plan your week like an architect, not like a wanderer. You move with a conviction that makes people stop and wonder, what does he see that I don't? That's when you know you're aligned. When the fire behind your eyes says more than your resume ever could. When you become the walking embodiment of your future. before anyone else believes it's real. Because you're not here to impress the world. You're here to reshape it. And that starts with how you see yourself. You become what you see, not what you say, not what you hope, not what you fake on social media. What you see, in silence, in solitude, when it's just you and the image. And the question, will I betray this vision again today? Or will I become the man who matches it? That question should haunt you, because the cost of not answering it is your life. There is no pain greater than the pain of a man who caught the vision, but lacked the courage to become it. That pain doesn't show up all at once. It seeps in, slow, subtle. It shows up in the hesitation you feel before every decision. It shows up in the gut punch when you see someone living the life you know you were born for, but never built. It shows up in silence, in the regret no one else sees, in the quiet knowing that you were made for more, and you ignored the call. But you don't have to die that way. You don't have to live like a ghost in your own life. You can return to the vision. You can dust it off. Breathe life into it. Stand it up. And this time, fight for it like a man who refuses to be buried before he's dead. It starts with dominion over your eyes. Not just what you look at, but how you interpret it. When most people see struggle, they see a wall. But you see a test. When most see delay, they see a closed door. But you see a detour to sharpen your strategy. When most see pain, they fold. But you see pressure forging steel. That's the shift. That's the vision-powered lens that separates those who wish from those who will. Because life will test your sight. Oh yes, relentlessly. It will surround you with contradictions. It will blind you with circumstance. It will beg you to give up the image in exchange for the comfort of the crowd. But those who create history are those who see through the storm. When the rain falls, they see harvest. When the world says be realistic, they say, watch me. When nothing makes sense yet, they stay locked in, not because they're delusional, but because they understand that reality follows focus, not the other way around. That's why you must guard your attention like your future depends on it, because it does. Every app, every scroll, every opinion, every distraction is a thief of vision. And every time you trade your focus for comfort, you weaken the image, you blur the lines, you soften the resolve. But when you fight for your focus, when you curate your inputs like a man protecting gold, when you decide that your future is too sacred to dilute, something begins to shift. Your posture changes. Your conversations evolve. You stop reacting and you start designing. You stop being a man who tries, and you become a man who executes. Because vision isn't passive. It's not some feel-good fantasy. It's the original source code of your new life. And every time you choose it, over comfort, over distraction, over doubt, you write another line of the life you were born to live. That's how legacies are built. One image, one day, one decision at a time. And yes, it's hard, but it's worth it. Because the man who honors the vision becomes the man the world cannot ignore. They will call you obsessed. They will say you've changed. They will whisper that you're too focused, too intense, too much. Let them, because they don't understand you're not chasing a dream. You're becoming the dream. You're not running after success like it's some prize to win. You're aligning every cell in your body with a mental image so powerful, the universe has no choice but to respond. And that kind of power, it doesn't look normal. It doesn't sound like mediocrity. It doesn't fit into shallow conversations, safe plans, or dead routines. Vision doesn't make you polite. It makes you dangerous. It strips away your tolerance for distraction. It murders your need for external validation. It makes you sharp, focused, relentless. Because when the image of your future is burned into your soul, you don't need to convince the world. You just move, and the world adjusts. That's what clarity does. It bends time. It speeds up alignment. It repels the wrong people and draws the right ones. It cuts through noise like a blade through fog. But if your vision is weak, your life will be, too. You will settle. You will repeat. You will decorate the cage you were meant to escape. And years from now, you'll sit across from your reflection, older, tired, haunted, And you'll realize the tragedy was never that life didn't give you a chance. The tragedy was that you never learned how to see. So start now. Don't wait for the world to hand you permission. It won't. Don't wait for clarity to arrive like a gift. You forge it. Sit in the silence. Face the chaos. Cut away every false identity you've been carrying. Strip yourself of what they told you you should be. And begin constructing what you were designed to become. Close your eyes and see him. Not the man you were. Not the man they made you. The man beneath it all. The one who doesn't need approval. The one who walks with intent. The one who builds legacy, not just lifestyle. Feel him. Speak like him. Walk like him. Train like him. Study like him. Build like him. Lead like him. And every day, see him again, because repetition rewires reality. And clarity, repeated daily, becomes truth. At first, you won't believe it. The doubt will scream. The old programming will claw at you like chains being snapped. You'll feel ridiculous imagining a life that looks nothing like your current one. But do it anyway. That's the price. And the price is what makes it real. Because what you pay for with sweat, time, discipline, and belief, you will never abandon. This is why few ever rise. Not because they couldn't, but because they refused to pay. They wanted the result, but not the vision work. They wanted the throne, but not the blueprint. They wanted to live like kings, while still thinking like prisoners. But you see what they don't. You've woken up. And once you see, you cannot unsee. You cannot unsee the life calling to you. Not once you've glimpsed it. Not once it's burned itself into your soul. That vision becomes a living thing. It breathes when you breathe. It follows you through every moment of doubt, every failure, every dark night. And no matter how far you drift, it waits. It waits for the man who finally decides to stop running, turn inward, and become him. You want to change your life? Then stop worshiping your limitations. Stop quoting your trauma like scripture. Stop repeating the story that broke you as if it's your identity. Stop using yesterday as a compass for tomorrow. That is not your destiny. That is just where you pause a vision. But you can unpause it now, right here, right in the middle of the mess. Because the secret, it's not about how you feel. It's about what you see. Your emotions are loud liars. But vision is loyal. It does not abandon you. It does not mock you. It waits for the day you step back into alignment with it. And when you do, everything shifts because alignment is power. Alignment is speed. Alignment is where your actions, your thoughts, your words, and your outcomes all begin to move in the same direction. You no longer need to push yourself. You're pulled. You're pulled by something bigger than fear, bigger than ego, bigger than money, fame, applause, or trophies. You are pulled by purpose, by the internal certainty that you are becoming what you were born to build. And let me tell you something the world won't. When you become the man who honors the vision, you become magnetic. You don't chase opportunities. They chase you. You don't need to prove yourself. You are the proof. You don't need to shout louder than the crowd. Your presence becomes a voice. Because there is nothing louder than a man who knows who he is. And the only way to know is to see your future so vividly that the present no longer pulls you out of alignment, to see the next level version of yourself so clearly that the lower version of you becomes intolerable. You're not here to live lukewarm. You're not here to blend in. You're not here to survive with your potential rotting in your chest. You are here to see, believe, build, and become, not in 10 years, not when it's convenient, now, because life doesn't reward intentions. It rewards alignment. It rewards vision backed by action. It rewards a man who says with everything in him, I know where I'm going, and I won't live another day out of sync with it. That's the level we're talking about. That's the edge you must live on, because there's a version of you that this world has never met, and it's time to introduce him. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs you, the real you, the one who's been buried beneath fear, silence, approval addiction, and the fog of the average. You think you've been waiting for the right moment, for the right opportunity, for the right break. But none of those things matter without one thing, the right identity. And identity is not discovered. It's decided. It's declared. It's designed through vision. You must see yourself fully before the world ever will. When you walk like the man you envision, the world responds. Not because it sees the evidence, but because it feels your certainty. And certainty is magnetic. Certainty shakes the room. Certainty collapses the delay between who you are and who you're becoming. So stop waiting for someone to hand you a crown. Forge it. Melt down your failures. Shape them into armor. Grip the hammer of discipline, of clarity, of fire, and build a life that reflects the man in your mind. If he's strong, be strong. If he's wealthy, learn, fail, try again until your life reflects it. If he's bold, stop speaking like a man who hopes and start speaking like a man who knows. Not out of arrogance, out of alignment, out of vision. The old version of you, he's still whispering. He's still trying to survive. He still believes comfort is king. But you didn't come this far to stay familiar. You came here to bury the old you. You came here to strip off the skin of hesitation, doubt, and laziness. You came here to kill off the man who plays small, so the man of vision can finally breathe. And when that man breathes, he creates. He stops asking for validation. He stops chasing applause. He builds, silently, violently, and relentlessly. And day by day, the vision gets louder, the picture gets clearer, and the world begins to mirror it. Because that's the final truth. Your life is a mirror. It doesn't show you what you want. It shows you what you believe is real. And belief begins with vision. Not hope, not desperation, not reaction. Vision. If you see yourself as a leader, your choices start to echo it. If you see yourself as powerful, your energy starts to match it. If you see yourself as unstoppable, you stop folding, stop quitting, stop negotiating with mediocrity. This is your responsibility, not to the world, to yourself, to the image you've been given, to the voice inside you that's been whispering. There's more. There's so much more. And now you know. Now you've seen. Now you can't go back. So walk with certainty, with vision, with unshakable internal fire. Because in the end, you don't get the life you want. You get the life you see.